Hi, this is Sam from Refraction Audio. Today we're going to be going over a question that I get a lot, and that is instant mastering as good as real mastering? To do this, we're going to take a song that a client gave me to master, and we're going to run it through 3 different instant mastering services. And then we're going to compare those instant masters to the real master done at Refraction Audio Studios.
Refraction Audio.
First things first, let's compare pricing. So as we can see on the Refraction Audio website, stereo mastering comes to $19 a song. On the instant mastering service for LANDR, looks like they have 3 different pricing options, and they all seem to be monthly. And it is important to note for the first 2, looks like you do have to pay an additional amount to get WAV files. And WAV files are uncompressed audio files, and this is how you will want to be uploading your audio to Spotify, YouTube, etc. If you upload MP3 files to these, it will not be as high quality as you will want. And I'm not sure that a monthly pricing option is going to be best for most people. I'll let you be the judge of that. But it could be expensive and you could forget about it. So you could be left with monthly fees. So eMastered looks like they also operate on a monthly basis. And looks like they are all the same here. So looks like it'd be about $15 a month and you'd get unlimited WAV files. Okay, and last but not least, we're looking at Aria for instant mastering. They do have 3 different options for monthly payments, but they do offer a single master at $19 a song. So I do like this so far. Okay, so we've gone ahead and had our track mastered through Refraction Audio, the real mastering, and all 3 instant mastering services. So what we see in front of us is in white, we have the original track. In green, we have the Refraction Audio master. In orange, we have the LANDR master. In pink, we have the eMastered master. And in yellow, we have the Aria mastered. Now, one thing that is important to note when comparing different tracks against each other, you need to make sure that they're level matched. So what I wanted to do here is prove to you that they're level matched. So right here, so what Studio One has, and I want you to focus right here on integrated loudness. Studio One has a unique feature where you can analyze the entire loudness of a track. And loudness is best measured in LUFS. It is the most accurate measurement. So I just want to prove to you here that all these tracks are in fact at the same volume. So we see here, if I click the original track, it is at negative 12.7 LUFS. My green master track is at negative 12.7 LUFS. This one, negative 12.7. The eMastered, negative 12.7. And the Aria Master at negative 12.7. Here we can see the same songs that we had before. Again, these are all level matched. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by listening to the original track and then taking any notes, perhaps where we want to take the master. So I'm just going to play it through a few different points so you kind of get a general sense of this, and then we will compare all the different masters against each other. Okay, so by playing the original.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Can't get over you. Still I call it magic. Such a precious jewel.
Here are my original mastering notes when I was taking a listen to this track for the first time. The only difference being is that when I was originally taking these notes, they were on a pen and paper, but as you can see, they're on a PowerPoint in front of you now. Okay, the first note that I had on this song was that we're going to need a tonal rebalance on this song. There's definitely too much bass information and not enough highs. As well as that, there's a excess subwoofer information for this genre. This is kind of a bluesy jazz type of song, and there's too much subs. Subs are more appropriate for, say, EDM, hip hop, but we're not going to really need that in this type of song. Another thing that I noticed is that the kick was not very tight with the bass. When we take a listen back to everything, listen for the kick really popping out of this song almost too much. I think they just mixed the kick too hot on this song, so we'll see if we're able to tame that. Another thing that I noticed is that we may need to automate the low end. So this is a mix note that I made is because when I was taking a listen to it, if we just tonally balance it during the chorus, I'm not sure that the verse bass information is going to be at an appropriate level. So we'll just need to double check that we get that right. And the last mix note that I had is this track would definitely benefit from some analog polish. So we'll run it through some analog gear and we'll get a nice sheen to this track. Let's take a listen to this track one more time, and again, really try to pay attention to those mix notes. Again, it needs more high, there's too much subwoofer information, the kick is not tight with the bass, and it could use some analog polish. So let's take a listen again with those in mind.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Can't get over you. Still I call it magic. Oh no I don't, no I don't, no I don't. When anybody else but you don't, and I don't, and I don't.
Last but not least, we're going to compare the instant mastering versus the real mastering. Okay, so let's start with the instant mastering services and let's see if they actually fix those mix issues that we notice. So we're going to start with the original, then I'm going to go through each one of these. So with the original,
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic.
okay, so with Lander, I noticed the vocal did get slightly more clear, but there is still way too much low-end information in this song to a fact where it feels quite muddy, and a lot of the other instruments are difficult to hear. And so I'll show this as we keep going later on.
Can't get over you. Still I call it magic. Such a precious jewel.
Okay, so in the Lander Master, I'm still also hearing that there is an excess kick information. It doesn't seem as tight as the bass. It doesn't seem as tight as it could be. So there's still a little bit too much excess subwoofer information in this track. So to me, it doesn't seem like it actually fixed any of the mix issues that we saw. So now we'll go to E mastered and we'll compare the original versus E mastered.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic. Can't get over you. Still I call it magic.
Okay, with the E mastered, I'm hearing virtually the same thing. It actually doesn't sound too much different than the original track at all. So I'm actually wondering if they do any tonal balances at all, but I'd still heard a lot of excess low information, the kick, and you especially notice the kick part that I'm talking about right here, where the kick just really does not sit in with the rest of the instruments. Okay, and finally, let's take a look at Aria and compare that to, We'll take a look at Aria and compare that to the original.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I don't, it's true. Don't, no, I don't, no, I don't, no, I don't. When anybody else.
Okay, so with Aria, I'm actually hearing something similar to the other two, except the difference with Aria, it appears to have a lot of harmonics associated with this, unlike some of the other ones. Maybe that's due to some of the analog characteristics that they promote on the website, but that's kind of what I hear. But I still also hear a tonal imbalance in the Aria master. There's still way too much bass information and not enough high-end information in this track. Okay, so now, last but not least, let's compare the original to the real master. And then what we're going to do after this is compare the real master to the other three instant mastering. Okay, here we go.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Can't get over you. Still I call it magic. Such a precious truth. I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't. No, I don't, it's true. Don't, no, I don't, no, I don't, no, I don't.
Okay, so with the real master, I hear all those problems that we mentioned before kind of go away. So the kick was a lot tighter to the song, in comparison with the other instruments. There wasn't as much subwoofer information, and it seemed to be an appropriate mount for the song. The song had a nice analog polish to it, and the tonal balance was there, which made a lot of the other instruments, become really clear. And one thing you might say is it may seem overly bright, but that's really just compared to the original track. When I was comparing this against other reference tracks, it's much more similar to those tracks, so other commercial songs that have been released. So now let's compare all these tracks against each other, and we'll just keep A-Bing all the way through this.
Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic when I'm next to you. Still I call it magic. Can't get over you. Still I call it magic. Such a precious truth. I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't.
In conclusion, there's still a really big difference between real mastering and instant mastering. In the real mastering, all the problems in the mix were actually fixed, whereas the instant mastering, that was not necessarily the case. A lot of the instant mastering services, well, all of these ones, the mix still sounded really muddy. There was still way too much bass information, and it felt like it was really holding down the mix. Another thing that was fixed in this mix is there's actually some automation in the beginning of the song to reduce some extra bass information in the verses. Because when I was mastering the chorus and to get that tonal balance right, that doesn't mean the tonal balance of the rest of the song is going to be correct. And one thing I heard when I was listening to these instant mastering services is that it doesn't seem to me like they are using automation throughout the song. It seems like they give one blanket effect across the song, which is not always what a song needs. One of the important things about mastering is that you can automate certain things. Another important thing in mastering is that a mastering engineer, especially a real one, can compare your track against pro references. So this is going to make your mix comparable in loudness and have the proper tonal balance for your genre. One of the things I noticed with these mastering services is that they were mastering it quite loud, especially for this genre. So this kind of resulted in a much more overcompressed sound than what would be desired. Another thing with real mastering is that you can run it through higher quality gear to polish the music. This can deliver that certain hi-fi professional flavor, but only if your song needs it. And these are things such as using different tube EQs, tape machines. You also get to build a relationship with your mastering engineer. And so what that does is that mastering engineer can learn, where you want to take your music. And remember, music isn't scientific. A human touch and knowledge is still better for this task as of now, and good AI might get tonal balance right eventually. But I think it'll always have trouble telling things such as if a snare is poking out too much, if guitars needed to be raised by a dB, if the vocal is poking out a little too much, if the vocal is a little bit too harsh. And so in conclusion, if your mastering engineer is good, it's always going to turn out better. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please go to refractionaudio.com for all your latest mastering needs. And if you like this video and want to learn how I mastered this song, I'm thinking about doing a video series on the topic. So just please comment below if you would like that. And if enough people say yes, then I will do it. Okay, take care.